What if I told you you're probably using AI wrong? Most businesses are using AI selfishly. The producer versus the consumer divide is about to create a massive wealth. Small businesses with the right strategy can absolutely demolish giants who are stuck in the old ways of thinking.
David brings a very specific technological advantage to that fight, the sling. Engineer the best context around their customers. You must treat your customers as an individual in this new world. Listen more than you talk, and they will tell you great stories of their pain. Find the painful problem, listen to that painful problem, and solve it with AI.
This is placeholder media that you'll see if you add a layout to an empty scene. You can go ahead and delete it.
What if I told you you're probably using AI wrong? What if the entire AI industry is focused on the wrong thing? And what if small business in Newfoundland could beat $1 billion corporation because of and it's a thing I love. Context. Welcome to the Weird Canadian podcast. I'm Cody Johnston, and I don't do fluff. I do deep dives to people who are actually building things, not just talking about it. Today's guest is Lee Russel. He's a best-selling author, an AI strategist, and the founder of Minimal Viable Law. He's also launching a product this December called Context Intelligence that could fundamentally change how businesses use AI. Here's why this matters to you. Lee's been in the AI trenches for 10 years. He built systems used by millions. He's worked with major companies, Octopus Energy, and he's got controversial takes most AI consultants won't. He says most businesses are using AI selfishly. They're asking, how can I reduce headcount? How can I be more efficient? And they're missing the real opportunity isn't efficiency. It's creating experiences so personalized, so valuable that your customers feel like they're reading your mind. It's about being high tech and high touch at the same time. It's about understanding that in the age of AI, the producer versus the consumer divide is about to create a massive wealth. Lee gave a presentation called How to Become Industry Disruptor Using AI. It's about David versus Goliath. It's about a small businesses with the right strategy can absolutely demolish giants who are stuck in the old ways of thinking. And in this episode, we're going to break down it all. Context engines, the minimum viable launch methodology, the 12 AI experiments every business should run. Whoever engineers the best context about their customers is going to win. If you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or somebody who's AI powered and ready to disrupt, this is your episode. So let's get started. Lee, thank you for coming on.
No worries. I'm really excited to be here. I need to clip that introduction you've just given me, send that to my marketing team because that was incredible. So thank you for such a great intro.
Not a problem. I make sure everybody has all of the assets. I like this to be a collaboration, not my content versus them. So I do want to get into your David versus Goliath. Can you expand on that? How this is going to be, what it actually looks like?
Yeah, I think it's an important lens to look at the AI disruption, this AI moment that we're going through right now is that there is huge opportunity in any disruption, in any change of capabilities. A clear class of winners and losers is created. And this lens of David versus Goliath is a helpful way to understand how small companies who are brave, because it's going to be risky, it's going to take you and require you to be the kind of entrepreneur that bets the house on going all in as an early mover on a new capability. But it shows you the pathway. Okay, so David didn't win the fight against Goliath, this huge warrior, right? David steps into the ring with him, and everyone's looking around thinking, "How is this fight even going to go down? Or how is David going to stand a chance?" And David wins not by matching Goliath toe to toe with brawn and with strength and might. David brings a very specific technological advantage to that fight, the sling, and focuses all of his effort into landing that stone on the forehead of Goliath and taking him out of the fight. And I think this story is going to repeat again and again and again over the next decade, in which small lean teams that focus their efforts on the right areas with AI, solving the right problems with AI, are going to leapfrog their competition. They're going to disrupt those who have spent hundreds of thousands to millions a year on their offices, who have hundreds of employees, outdated systems and technology that have weighed them down, and they have sluggish responses to these new moments in the economy. And I think this is the opportunity. I want entrepreneurs to be excited about AI, not scared, because it does give the underdog, does give the newcomer the opportunity to be the disruptor.
And it's funny you mentioned that, because in our pre-talk, I had mentioned that I just released two music albums, and AI has given me the ability to do that. And it's funny, since then, I've had a lot of people be like, you used AI, it's not right. Like, this isn't music, it doesn't feel. And I'm like, do you know how much of my heart and soul I put into that? Do you know how much I tailored it so that it's the exact sound in my head? Like, that's what makes music, not how you put it together. Like, and this is the disruption. People need to stop thinking the old way it's the best. It's not.
Well, I imagine the same conversations were happening in music when digital synthesizers were invented. It's like, you didn't play the instrument, you didn't pull the bow across the string. It's the same argument that was happening in Plato's time, right? Where Plato's rallying, or I think Socrates is rallying against the use of books and how that will destroy you didn't remember the story, you didn't talk it through, you read it in a book, you're cheating, right? And in any of these moments of transition, the people who are married to the old way of doing things have this fight or flight response. And I think this is going to be a reckoning for a lot of people. It's not genuine music that you've produced because you've been the creative influence and force behind it. It's that people have I think a misplaced notion that to be creative, to produce something that is valid, you have to put blood, sweat, and tears into doing it in specific ways. That is not the case. I studied illustration at university, right? A very ill-advised career route. And the thing that is fascinating to me about how most people view art is they think it is this kind of God-given talent that you're either born with or not, and that you must be able to close your eyes, think of a picture, and render that forth with kind of this magical ability. And then you get into the world of being trained as a professional artist, and you realize everyone's taking photos of models, they're tracing, they're sketching, they're pulling photos in and photo bashing. And if the average consumer understood that, they would look at it and go, that's not art, that's cheating. What do you mean it's cheating? Does it produce a beautiful result? Yeah, then let's stop complaining about it.
Side tangent here, because I this is going to get a little controversial. This is kind of what I've been saying about all IP. As far as I'm concerned, you release a story, a movie, a book, it is no longer your content. It is out for the world to use, to do whatever. And this is where I get controversial, because I stand against J.K. Rowling, surely because she holds no more creative value in that world anymore. She pushed it out there, and now it's the world to create it, and it's no longer her content. But that's what you're going to see across the board. This is what I've been trying to say is, we are LLMs ourselves. We're just learning at a slower pace, building up our knowledge base to be able to recreate what people have done and splice it with what other people have done, which is what LLMs are doing.
Exactly that. Like, creativity is quite a gnarly concept to define, right? There's a great series of, let's say, video episodes on YouTube from like 5 years ago, maybe even longer ago, called Everything is a Remix. And in this video series, what I can't remember his name, what the author, the creator of this series does is he looks at music, art, films, books, all of these things, and shows you how they are recombinations of ideas that were existing prior to that creation. And the best one is he breaks down the Matrix. And the Matrix is like one-to-one refilming of shots from about 100 different other films. Yes, there's their twist and there's their flavor, and it serves a different purpose. That scene serves a different purpose within that film. But when you see, and he plays them side by side, and you go, oh, okay, this is really interesting. And this, I think, leads Cody to a very interesting idea, which is ideation by triangulation, called Everything is a Real Ideas, and combine them together into a third idea. You end up with your unique idea. And I think, I'd maybe say that IP has a right in which I can't just copy paste, the Philosopher's Stone and print that and say, hey, that was my work. But I can take the ideas in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, and I can take the ideas from 2001, A Space Odyssey, and I could combine those together in a very interesting way. That might be a very terrible idea, but that is how the greatest creators on this planet work and function.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I'm waiting for AI to get to the point, because I have a sci-fi series in my head that kind of combines a few different animes that I've seen, kind of combines real life technology that I know of. I just can't wait to be able to build it. Because I see it playing in my head. I just want to get it out. And that's what I did with my music too. I take all of my deep research topics. So I'm like, I want to really understand this. So I go out and I find all of the information that I can, crumble it down into base lyrics, and put the sound out. It's my sound, is my research, my understanding, and I'm just trying to relay it to people. So that kind of really leads me back into where we were going. Context. Everything is context driven. Your new product, Context Engine, can you explain how that's going to work in terms of?
So context engines really came about because I was hearing the same problem from conversations with our customers again and again and again. People wanted to use call transcripts and the various data points they had about their customers in order to personalize assets that they had in their business: a sales brochure, an email outreach, a campaign, all of that kind of stuff. And they were struggling to do it. They could copy and paste a transcript into ChatGPT, but it didn't really deliver on that promise. And what we've realized, and what I've come to understand about AI, is the models on your moat. It doesn't matter if you're using GPT-5, the latest version of Anthropic, unless you work inside those companies. You don't have access to the state of the art that anyone else can't get access to without a single line of code change. So it's not going to be the AI models that make you the winner in this kind of game. It's going to be those businesses that engineer the best context around their customers so that they can have highly personalized touch points through their marketing, sales, and product delivery channels. This doesn't just end when you've made the sale. You must treat your customers as an individual in this new world. We are increasingly an individualized society. And I think it feels a little bit awful when you get one of those horrible kind of semi-personalized outreach emails where it's like, hey, Lee, yeah. You've got a pulse. We'd love to work with you. Love what you're doing at Minimal Viable Launch. It's like, okay, why didn't you bother? So the idea behind context engines is, how do we generate conversations with our customers in order to get qualitative information about them that we can feed to AI agents that customizes templates that we have into specific instances for that customer? And what does that mean? That means we have a sales call with the customer and output a landing page that isn't seen by everyone, but has been customized to the needs of that individual. So it is an instance that we have of that landing page. 40% of it we've signed off, 60% of it has been hallucinated by the large language model. And then we get this beautiful promise delivered, which is our business starts to react to our customers in very customized ways. Finally, analytics will be useful because we don't have Google Analytics, which is, hey, this is the data from 10,000 people. It's this is the interaction that this user had on this landing page. They clicked on this frequently asked question and hovered there for 5 seconds. And then you send a completely unique follow-up email to them talking about that FAQ. That's the promise of AI that I want to help deliver.
I definitely see that because actually you kind of hit on the point of, I think Tom Bilyeu spoke at VidCon this year. He said the future world is going to be you replicate to every single customer you have, every single audience member, every single person will have a custom version in front of them. And that's your moat. Your moat is building your relationships with these people, right? Because it's going to get a lot harder.
It's going to get, I think it's an astute insight, right? It's going to get a lot harder. And there's so many business wins on the way to delivering that promise, right? That we could take that as the North Star, but the low hanging fruit that exists on that journey of just stopping treating our customers like a faceless mass and saying, take a nurture sequence in a business, for instance. Most people today, as information age businesses, right, they have the ability to send 11 to 20, 30 follow-up emails once you click, sign up to my newsletter. And it's a highly curated piece of content or pieces of content that is non-reactive in any way, shape, or form for the reasons why I signed up. So it's spray and pray. We hope that this is good enough that a small percentage of people then fall through this funnel. But in the world of the intelligence era business, this idea of an agentically driven business, that's not good enough anymore. What you actually need is a nurture sequence of one. It is a completely unique nurture sequence that only that customer ever experiences. Maybe it has grounding truths in the things you speak about and the facts it knows about your products and pricing and timing. But the language is unique. It understands their pain points and rejigs the sequence based on what they need right now. And that becomes a really compelling use case. And I think, I was talking with a newsletter owner. She has a fashion newsletter, and she said, how can I use AI other than writing content? Because I've done that. I was like, okay, let's think about, in her newsletter, she has outfit recommendations. I was like, but you send one outfit at one price point to the 20,000 people on your newsletter list. What is that got customized based on what you know about their budgets, the kind of brands they bought before, what kind of fashion that they like, what outfits they clicked on before that you sent them. And instead of sending one outfit every newsletter, you're sending thousands that have been assembled based on that user's need. And that kind of blew her mind. And I was like, that's where we're going.
That is a very compelling marketing strategy. Like that right there is pinnacle of reach. So I do want to get into your kind of lost in my colleague.
Well, I will say on the advertising front, I'm so glad that we're finally reaching this point, because maybe I saw an advert by Guinness that I thought was so clever, mainly from a technology standpoint. But I was living in Leeds, north of the UK at the time. It rains there 60% of the year it's raining, right? And on this roundabout, there's a giant digital screen, and it was raining, and there was a pint of Guinness being poured. And it said, it's raining, we're pouring. And all they were using is the weather data to display that ad, right? It wasn't too insane. It was certainly before we had large language models, etc. But I looked at that and I thought, wow, imagine if every advert that I saw was personalized to my needs in that way. Because I was like, that is super cool. It was unique, right? And it, like, advertising, getting advertised to could become valuable and fun in and of itself.
That's kind of the thing that I wish, especially in the US, because their whole medical advertising goal of, I really wish we could get to an advertising model that actually predicts what you need, not what you're going to be interested in. Because when I'm looking for AI tools, I'm looking for a specific one. It'd be nice for me to be able to have somebody, oh, you're looking for this? here's what we have available, or those kinds of things. Even from a consumer perspective.
Well, and most people I think would agree with the statement, like it's not fun to be sold to, right? But I think they're lying to themselves. What the actual statement should be, it's not fun to be sold to badly. But if you are sold to in an incredible way, a very consultative way, like most people would say, if you've ever had the experience and pleasure of going Rolex shopping and luxury watches are your thing, that whole process of having to make the appointment, the security guard, you're the only one in the shop, the champagne, the trying on, the exclusivity, they would consider that a fun experience, but it's a hardcore sales experience that they're going through. And if we really reshape our mind around what advertising is and sales is, we can get to this place where advertising is fun, being sold to is fun or valuable, because as you say, this is what you need, because that then is valuable. Problems are being solved through advertising.
So let's get into your minimal viable launch. Walk us through how you're using the MVL process for it. What was going through when you were building this?
So the minimal viable launch process, writing that book and actually we rebranded the whole company around this concept, because at the time I was doing a lot of mentoring on tech incubators around the UK. I'd been working in ed tech. We'd scaled products to millions in annual recurring revenue. I'd gone through incredible product failures, launches that cost us millions, and a big hole in our investors' pockets. And I had learned the lessons here that what we're really needing to do when we launch any product is get validation that we can sell this thing long before we ever write a single line of code, before we bet the house on going down this route of launching a startup. And what's interesting, CB Insights' research company did a ton of research on postmortems of startups and why they died, why they failed. The biggest bucket by far is that these businesses build products that no one wants, needs, and will not pay for, essentially. And so the minimal viable launch methodology, the book came out of writing from sheer frustration of speaking with founder after founder after founder who was like, I've put 20 grand into this agency to build my MVP. Do you think this is going to work? And I would always say to them, how many customers did you speak to and sell this to before you made that investment? And they'd say, well, none, it doesn't exist yet. And I used to say, well, Richard Branson launched Virgin Airlines without any money down and with no plane. And it's pretty hard business to launch with no money and no licenses, no hardware, right? Highly regulated business. I was like, you can definitely launch your startup long before you invest everything into getting it. And especially now with vibe coding and these tools that we've got, you can present your vision to the market long before you are fully committed into building it. So how have we used this methodology with context engines? We've been speaking one-to-one with our customers that we kind of have existing, saying, look, this is a problem that we think you've got. Do you want to get involved in the beta? And we've put quite a barrier to entry in getting involved into that beta, because we want to test it with people who are super into the idea and will give us that feedback. And we've got a live launch event in December next to the Google DeepMind offices in London in King's Cross, which is going to be super cool. And that's when we'll go kind of wider with it. But we knew this was a problem that people wanted to solve and would pay to have solved, because it's formed out the same project that we've been doing for our customers. And I had this kind of mad moment of invention where we came up with it, of suddenly it all clicked. When it's the same conversation, Lee, that you're having. And I have a motto, which is, if you hear repeating stories of pain, stop and listen, because there is a product to be made to solve it. And so, yeah, we're really going through this launch phase ourselves, or sell it first, then build the capability behind it, because that's actually the easy bit.
Yeah, and kind of goes into just the methodology of software development in the first place. Funny, because at the start of my career, I was told, like, You want the gold nugget, smallest piece of the application that you can sell to people that people actually want. You need to go out. This was before AI. So go out and research these things and make sure that this is what you want. And I was in a government settings where we got lucky to have the ability to temp on the public. But it really is just really need to finesse it down to core idea, how to present it.
I am fascinated. Like my role as a user experience designer in tech taught me one thing, right? User experience design, like if anyone has hung around with user experience design, it's all about what does a user want? How do we get in front of the user? Let's ask what they need, not guess what they want. And what fascinated me about that, before I became a user experience designer, for all my sins, I was a recruitment consultant. I was getting developers, mobile developers, jobs in and around London. So I'd done a lot of cold calling, I'd done a lot of selling. And when I did this research process for the first few times, when I made the switch from recruitment consultant to designer, I was like, this is the best sales process I've ever led, because I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm asking really detailed questions. I'm listening, and people are selling the product to themselves, which fascinated me. And I've never done one of these validation processes and come away after having 5 to 10 conversations. We're not talking, you don't need to go to hundreds. 5 to 10 will give you a significant amount of feedback to sink your teeth into. I've never come out of them and said, you know what? This needs to be twice as big. It's going to take us twice as long and be twice as expensive. It's always, no, get rid of 90% of that idea. It's terrible. That's the thing. Why wouldn't you do it? It boggles my mind.
I echo the same thing. The insight into the UX side things, like shout out to Stephanie, my coworker, because she brought me in on that. And it is powerful to understand that information. Even in the government, those completely different routes. We got real raw information.
A lot of people kind of give themselves the excuse not to do it because they roll out a kind of Henry Ford quote of, if I ask my customers what they want, they'd said faster horses. And it's like, yes, you don't necessarily ask them about the solutions to their problem. They're not experts in that. That's your job. What you focus these conversations on, we call them problem scouting conversations. You focus on what is their burning hair problems? What is a problem that is unignorable and pressing and painful, like having your head on fire? You don't ignore that. You will solve that problem pretty quickly. And if you can focus those conversations on those core problems, you get to go back to your office, at your lab, wherever you work, right? And say, okay, now using my specific knowledge and expertise, how would I create a remarkable solution to that product? And that's where real innovation happens. And I'm fascinated. Half the time, it's not the most crazy, scary, complex products that have the biggest evolutions. It's a new understanding of a way of looking at a problem, a new experience that you create. And this is the fascinating world, just like with your music, just like you will with your anime idea, right? You have the production capability. Non-technical people now have the ability to create a prototype. Maybe it doesn't yet create full scalable enterprise ready products, but it does allow you to create a prototype that you can go and show to people. And it's not a fancy PowerPoint. It's something that works. Why wouldn't you do this now? In this new age of the economy, we talk about the transition between information age into this intelligence age. And we look at, in a lot of the content we do, who's going to have the power in this age, right? Go back to the feudal age, the agricultural ages. You got land, you got some people, great. You're a big winner in that world. In the intelligence age, well, land, people, money isn't so important when you have the ability to think about an incredible idea, work with scalable intelligence to deliver it. It is those with the enterprising ideas that are going to be the big winners. So get out there, do some problem scouting, and find some incredible problems to solve.
I just love it's how I started all of this too, like the channel and everything, which just, I noticed a problem. Canadians don't always understand everything. Most of the world doesn't understand Canada. So I started this. I'm actually going to get back into talking more about Canada because I think they're still lacking, and getting into this business conversation hasn't been serving my audience. But at the same time, like, I love these dives in. Do
You've
you
got some
have any
incredible talent in Canada, by the way. I think we said in our
Yes.
preamble chat, like we have some great partners with technology companies in Canada who have unbelievable talent that I don't know what's going on within Canada. They're looking to get jobs down in Silicon Valley, and there's been a mass series of layoffs in Silicon Valley because of the hiring glut. And we have found incredible talent, incredible developers in and around Canada, the Toronto area mainly. And I'm gobsmacked at the kind of hidden gem that exists in the country. And I think you guys should be shouting about it because it's great to work with you guys.
That is the biggest thing that Canada does not. We do not. That is one of our worst qualities. Because we are very humble. We don't think we're changing the world. AI started at some of the visionaries behind most of Silicon Valley started in Canada. We were even looking into where were some of the starters of Paint. It's ridiculous that what we made because we want it more than anything else. The reason why you're able to get it so cheap is because, our government has made USA the enemy. So a lot of people are not going to this. And we're also looking, nobody knows what's going to happen. And jumping on with the company right now is the scariest thing you could do. Like, that is literally right now the least secure path. And it's been in entire history. I would say to actually have a career, which is why I'm trying to get people to come up with their own ideas that they're passionate about. Build things that work and fix.
The thing that's fascinating about the Gen Z and younger, I think they are a much more enterprising generation than the millennials and some of those that came before them. They have a side hustle. They produce content. They kind of buy, sell, and trade things as part of the major kind of zeitgeist of their culture, right? And I can't pretend to understand too much of what is going on within Gen Z memes and things, but I think the Gen Zers that I work with, I'm always incredibly, they get much maligned in the kind of conversations, but I'm always like, these people are ready to go. They're not lazy. What they are, people mistake their refusal to do things is, I see it as a very entrepreneurial spirit. They question why things are done like that and say no to stuff, which is the core skill set of an entrepreneur, right?
I can speak to why at least Canadians don't have that. Canadian millennials don't have that ability anymore. And it's because when we got into the job market, it was beating the fuck out of us.
Yeah.
We got into big companies. So Canada has monopolies in everything. Everything's a monopoly. So you go into the job market, it's a big company. You ask why, you get nowhere. The shaft. You get stuck in a position. You grow, and you're left being, it's not a merit-based work in, right? But that's where Gen Z's, they're really pushing it, to change the why. Because that's how Canada was founded, the why. That's how most of the world was founded. Why are we doing these this way? Should have done differently. I don't know. We're getting to this area where I guess it happens in every generation.
But what is fascinating with AI and its second order consequences is that it lowers the barrier to entry for you starting a company. It lowers the barrier of entry for you disrupting big industries. Those monopolies are ripe for disruption. And that is going to ripple across the world. I was talking today about even language barriers, okay, kind of evaporating in the face of AI. I live and travel around the world. I change countries every month and I get myself into hilarious, this is a cool product, right? I get myself into hilarious situations because I speak these languages, even though when I'm incredibly bad at them, and I use AI to help me along my way. And I've had hilarious haircuts where my hair's been completely shaved off because I thought this was something wrong, right? And I'm British, so I don't say when something's going wrong with the hairdresser. I just grin and bear it. Um, and we were having a conversation with a client today, and he said, well, we have team members in Italy and India and the UK. How possible is it to like have this output in those languages? I was like, this is so easy for AI. It's unbelievable. Like this is one of its superpowers. It's one line of code change, and that will output in Italian and Indian, and everyone can speak in their native language. And it's kind of like the old Babel fish from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, right? Like, you know, the little thing that sits in your ear. Everyone's speaking their own language. You hear your own language. What the hell is going to happen to the world when those kind of communication barriers completely evaporate? Because I think that is what is going to happen.
That kind of brings into the point, because that was the first field that AI was the best at, was language interpretation with this was what really launched this entire channel for me. I got a gem with the ability to translate my message with direct, not an interpretation by somebody else.
Yeah.
That was what revolutionized me to be like, okay, communication's no longer a barrier to. And I actually had a fight with a friend who's a lawyer, because I'm like, legalese is just another language barrier that we put on ourselves. And he was arguing that it was precision. And I'm like, no, it's just another barrier for people to not understand what is going on.
Yeah. I mean, of course, the lawyer started an argument about you with the semantics in terms of what you were saying, right? That's exactly what they're there for. I agree with you. Like, contracts are interesting things. I think because if contracts were more plainly worded and everyone understood what they were signing up for, like the world would be better. But then we get into this kind of legal system in which, okay, you didn't use the right verb here, and that gives me massive outage here, right? But, you know, as a business owner, I use AI a lot of the times to not only help me write contracts, but to understand contracts. And I use a system of, now, is it foolproof? No, but I take on way more legal advice now than I did. This is this kind of lump of labor fallacy, right? Which is when you lower the cost of something, people say, well, it disrupts it, it goes away. It's like, no, you just get much more of it. I still work with law professionals, but in more sensitive areas. There's areas that I'm pretty happy just to have a GPT written contract. And I use, or other AI systems, and I use a system of AIs to critique each other's critiques of a contract and risk areas and things. So I agree with you that legalese is a barrier to understanding. And if we could just have a really great plain language, and I'm sure there's law professionals throwing their hands up in the air right now going, no, you don't understand. But that would be like the kind of first principle thinking, right? Is that if contracts were all equally understood by everyone, like we'd reduce legal misunderstandings, which should reduce lawsuits and cases on the back of it. It's probably a bit of a pie in the sky objective, right? Even with a fully agentic world, we're still going to have disputes, which will need settling somehow.
But at least at the very least, we'll have a common understanding amongst global. That's kind of where I'm working towards, because I've been out in the world. Like, I love being in different. I don't travel a lot, unfortunately, because I'm broke. But I do like to explore the world through the internet. And I've learned a lot about different cultures. When I try and bring things up to people, it's like, well, they do this because of this. And it's like, no, there's a much deeper meaning behind it. Being able to express those things. And I appreciate that Netflix is going so hard on Israel's movie industry, because they've got some really good stories coming out.
It is. I'm kind of like, I'm living in Turkey at the minute, and you turn on the Turkish TV, they have a very specific type of drama. Like, Turkish TV is full of gangsters and murder and love stories. That's basically all that's on, right? But I'm learning to speak Turkish very, very badly, and I can understand some of this. But like, I'm fascinated by the content. There is a hidden world of content out there that most of us don't have access to. I was a big fan of anime growing up, and that's what got me into art and drawing, right? And there's a whole world of Japanese content that I have access to and have understood that my friends and family probably would not. And they are very kind of localized in their content consumption. I think that was one of the big changes that the millennial generation went through, is we grew up with this kind of internet and the opening of the doors and the fact that we can now communicate. And so naturally, like in my music taste, you look at my Spotify, I'm listening to like Japanese city pop. I'm listening to like Ukrainian rap music. I was on a boat in Egypt going down the Nile, and I had the wildest experience. The guys who were sailing the boat with this crew of Nubian guys, and they were playing some music. I was like, I really like this. I listen to stuff like this. Give me your Spotify. I started to play it. And then it was like, how do you know this is a 70s funk pop band from like from Ethiopia? Right? I was like, I love this stuff. I didn't know the issue behind it. They were like, this is insane. He's so famous around these parts, and we were all partying on the boat to this. And I was like, what an incredible experience to have when you have this, because it was AI ultimately, or machine learning, that suggested the Ethiopian funk pop band from the 70s to me. I didn't know about that. I didn't Google it, but it created a very human connection on the back of that recommendation, like 5 years later.
It's funny because when I had access to the internet first, music was one of the first things I went through. One of my favorite bands, it's no longer a band. It's called Maximum the Hormone. They did the Death Note.
Yeah, it's like on repeat.
Yeah. And yeah, they just kind of shaped what I want to be in. And I still listen to One OK Rock whenever they release new album and stuff like that. It's just brilliant. I want to get, just because we have the last 15, I want to get a little bit into the future. If to an entrepreneur out there, what do you want?
I think I really want, and did you say, what do I want them to build, or what do I?
Yeah. Like if you were to have to say, like, any engineer out there, hey, I have this idea. This is what I would like to come into reality. Everybody out there, they can run with it.
That is a very hard question. I think, I think from an AI standpoint of what I would love people to really be focusing on, I'm not so necessarily bothered about longer context windows and higher token count models, which yes, that will continue to play out. I'm really interested in how we kind of do a bit of biomimicry with our AI systems, because they are so dumb compared to the human brain. You listen to the hype online. That's not the case. We have PhD level intelligence. It's like, we have an AI agent that can do, Olympiad math medals, fine, but it couldn't plan your trip to, your nearest airport without tripping itself up many millions of times. What I'm really interested in is memory and context within an AI model. And DeepSeek recently, in the last couple of days, has launched something that I think is so interesting called DeepSeek OCR, which stands for optical character recognition. How do you identify whether that's a C, a T, an A through image? And you look at that and you say, well, is that interesting? Yes, because the way they've done it is that they're condensing PDFs into images, and they've realized that images are vastly more efficient to store and understand from an AI. And they've proven that the old adage, an image, a picture is worth 1,000 words, is actually true, because they're condensing by 10 times this textual data down. So 1,000 word tokens is one image token, right? If we're taking liberties with the actual figures here. And what you can do with this, which is fascinating, I was reading the paper this week, I was like, you could have a system of fuzzy memory where an AI looks at these images of your conversational history, let's say, as it goes out of the context window, it takes that text, it turns it into an image and reshunts it, but it compresses it more and more and more in time, so that the AI has the natural ability, like a human, like, thank God we don't necessarily remember every stupid thing we've ever said, and every time we've embarrassed ourselves, or the time that guy flipped us off at the crossroads and we live in anger about it forever. Forgetting is a very important part. And these memory systems in AI that we have right now are terrible, because they're kind of like forever memories, unless we change these things. So I think any entrepreneur from the AI side who's working on that kind of memory problem with biomimicry at start, I think you're going to solve a fundamental problem in AI. If you're an entrepreneur wanting to build something with AI, I just have one piece of advice for you, and that is a piece of advice that my primary school teacher gave me many, many times that never embedded into my own mind. And she used to say, Lee, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Use them in that ratio. And my advice to you as an entrepreneur is go do this problem scouting. Go talk to people about their problems, listen more than you talk, and they will tell you great stories of their pain. And if you find the repeating stories of pain, you can use AI to launch a product, a service, a new experience that solves it in a remarkable way that will generate incredible value for them. And in return, you will generate incredible value and wealth for yourself. But it requires you to listen. And that's the true skill in the world of AI. Find the painful problem, listen to that painful problem, and solve it with AI.
I appreciate that every solution that AI solves is the one that makes us lazy.
It's, how do you mean that? What do you say it makes us?
So what I'm saying is takes off for 30, 40 years, we've been computers, we've been behind the screen, doing the work of robots, data sheets, those types. It allows us to actually go out and do the human things, pontificate, go make relationships, go out and have fun to experience things that you can then inform your business.
I
really
agree with you so much. Yeah. And I think this is where businesses like Klarna and others have gone so wrong with their selfish applications of AI, right? The mindset is, okay, let's use AI to build barriers between us and our customers because we can have a customer support bot. It'll do everything fine. Those support engineers we have don't really do anything, right? No, it's actually an incredibly complex job. New context, unique situations all of the time. And Klarna had to walk that back very, very quick. They had to rehire all those people they made redundant or fired. And I really think that's the fruitful place to look at, which is how do we, as you say, let's use AI to generate connection. Like there's a loneliness epidemic in the world. Like how do you use AI to actually connect people that need connecting? How do we use AI to bring people together for very human experiences instead of building the data into the spreadsheet and taking 6 hours to do that, having an AI do that, and you spend an hour on the phone with your customer, talking them through the data, helping them make a plan to action on the data, becoming consultative. That's valuable. And I think that's the right path with AI. That's the kind of sound principles that even if there is a giant AI bubble and it pops, your building of AI will still be on sound foundations because it was human first. It was human centric.
It's funny I think that's why I moved out to the middle of nowhere. Truly, people are going to want to move to the middle of nowhere. There's a lot of places to build. There's a lot of things to do. You're going to get better community. I actually love that I'm out here because the biggest problem small remote areas have is a weirdly connection, even though their communities are amazing. I can't say enough how I love their communities are amazing, but they don't allow their community to propagate. They don't expand beyond their geographic location.
Yep. And now you
really
broadcast out
to that.
Yeah.
I'm actually, so that comes in, I'm now the tourism coordinator for the town of Lewisport to actually implement solutions.
Incredible. And I think that the tools that you now have access to run those experiments on how you're going to get more people there, get the message out, tell the story of the town, right? It is greater than ever before. You have, with some of these AI video models, you have the production power of Disney Pixar for like cents on the dollar. Like it's crazy. It is crazy what you can produce.
So that's when you mentioned that I'm actually have a meeting tomorrow to figure out how to build music videos for my music.
Awesome. No, that is definitely within scope. I saw an incredible music video that I shared on my LinkedIn not too long ago that I just thought, this is better than most music videos. And it was a hybrid, right? There was some filming with AI over the top. I was like, this is mental. And this is the worst it's ever going to be. It's so cool.
So we're just at the last 5 minutes. I want to give you the platform to spout to anything you need coming up. What do you want to say? Any messages for anybody out there?
No, I've absolutely loved this conversation. So thank you for having me on and letting me kind of pontificate about the future and AI with you. I would say to any business owners out there that wants to escape this trap that I think most business owners are in, they're scared of AI, they're scared of being disrupted, but they're stuck in a world of copying and pasting information in and out of ChatGPT, Claude, whatever they use. They can't get beyond the chat window. We have a monthly webinar, which maybe we can give you the link for, we can stick in the show notes, which talks about how you disrupt your industry with AI agents. And it gives you the strategies and playbooks that you need to take that step forward, get your first agent built in a humanistic way that delivers value to your customers so that you profit more essentially off the back of that. The more value you create, the more profit you will generate. And if people want to attend that, it's completely free. It's 90-minute deep dive, and you will have the complete playbook that you need in order to become an AI enhanced business that disrupts some of these monopolies that you have in Canada.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And I'll make sure everything's down below for the audience. And to everybody out there, thank you for listening. See you later.